Welcome back, everybody, to Rob's MetalWorks. We are here in the summer as the summer winds down and during the heat, and brings me great pleasure to be in the studio today to welcome a band that we have been following for quite some time and who truly enjoy their music. Brings me great pleasure to welcome from Fresno, California, the man TREVOR Church of Haunt. Sir, welcome to our studio.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure. Love looking at your toys, bro.
Yeah. I'm so glad that we're able to connect on that level too. You know, but really cool. I'm so happy that you're here, that we can really have a good chance to promote the band and your new record here in this controlled environment.
Yes, so, man. Appreciate it. Glad it happened.
So, you know, I have been following the band, I want to say, for about a couple of years. And JB, my photographer, is a huge Haunt fan. And he says, Rob, you got to check out this band. I said, okay. And we started jamming to the first record.
Yeah.
That was the Burst Into Flame, the very first record.
For sure.
And then I was like, JB, these guys have a whole shitload of records.
Yeah.
Man, that we got to check out.
Yeah.
So we started jamming to the other records. And it kind of seems now, despite the fact that the band was born in 2017, you started this band at that time. But in the past 7 years, has really built a lot of strong momentum.
Yeah.
And I really kind of feel like the band is kind of at a certain height right now.
We're getting there. It's anything in the underground metal world it's an uphill battle, but you just it's just the old saying, the strong survive. And if you love what you're doing, you just keep doing it in the hopes that, you know, you connect with people and you connect with people on the way, and you just keep hitting new strides, you know. Obviously, the COVID kind of put a little, you know, damper on things. But once things started opening up again, we were out immediately. I was like, let's get out. Let's get touring. Even though I had to put together basically an entirely new live lineup,
right,
which was kind of a pain. But, you know, you just got to roll with the punches, you know. I don't want to let anything get in the way of the vision, you know.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
That's huge.
Great word there, because that's what I want to talk about. Obviously, you know, you're the man behind this band. You started this band. You write the music and lyrics for this band. What was that vision when you first started Haunt?
Well, I had a band before this called Beastmaker, and we had been kind of in the trenches, getting our beaks wet out in Europe, doing certain things, and we were more of like a doom metal band, and I just really felt like I wasn't going to be able to evolve musically with that band, just for a couple reasons. Because once you start playing a little bit faster, you're no longer doom metal, you know. Like Sabbath kind of gets away with it, but even with them, you're going to find that there's more of it is doomy than it is fast, you know.
Sure.
It's a hard thing to kind of develop different sounds within it. And also, you know, being born and raised in California, I have a lot of different influences, from the heavy metal, the thrash metal, to the punk music that's been around the longest. And I was like, man, I need to do something. I don't want to be pigeonholed. I want to be able to kind of just create what I'm feeling. If I want to go fast, I want to go fast. If I want to go slow, I want to go slow, without anybody being like, well, what the hell is he doing? So I kind of just threw it all out there, threw some spaghetti at the wall, and Luminous Eyes, my first EP, just really just kind of, it resonated with a lot of people at the time, namely Fenriz from Dark Throne. He gave me a lot of love on his blog, which really put things into movement really fast. I didn't have a band. Like, I was just, you know, I had been on that year, 2017. I was on tour with Zach Wild's Zach Sabbath band with Beastmaker. And then we had just got done with a really successful tour through Europe with this band Stone Jesus from the Ukraine, who I had never heard of. But when we got over to Europe, I found out really quickly that everybody knew who Stone Jesus was, because every night was packed. Wow. It was crazy. So it wasn't like Beastmaker wasn't doing what we needed to be doing. It was just that I felt like I was a little bit stifled. Like it was like, man, I could only do so much of this, and I even tried to kind of experiment outside of it a little bit and bring some more melodic things to it, and it didn't go over well. People were like, I like the other stuff better. And I was like, well, there goes that idea. Can't put two of them in the same mold, so one is gonna survive. And Haunt just kind of I got a lot of love, like I said, Fenriz, to just the press that I got from it. I know Gimme Metal that year in 2018, they gave me Album of the Year for Burst into Flame. Decibel Magazine gave me a lot of love. Everybody did, honestly. Cool. So Rolling Stone, even I think we got number 11 best heavy metal record of that, and for an underground band of like what we do, the style we do, that's basically unheard of even to this day. And then subsequently, didn't they do a write-up on you? They did 3 different times. Wow. Yeah, I got to give it up to my boy Hank Steamer for that. That's cool. He is a journalist for them back then, and he really wanted to put a spotlight on me because he thought I was doing something a little bit different than what everybody else was doing. Yeah. The kind of like, I guess, like the tag or the moniker for the music I've heard is like the new wave of traditional heavy metal. Is that okay with you? Yeah, it is. I never fully really understood it because I only look at things very black and white. You're either heavy metal or you're not. But I guess with things like, being a huge fan of the new wave of British heavy metal, I was like, well, okay, I understand people need to put a name on it to really like kind of harness the energy and the vibe and the era. So in that light, I was like, okay, but I never, like, right now as a band, I don't really like, I feel like we don't really fit in with a lot of what is on that guy's website, on the YouTube channel that he puts out, because a lot of it is more power metal, fantasy, and I was like, I don't know if that is really the California vibe, to be real. Right. Because that's really what Haunt is all about, is the California music vibe. That's what I've always tried to get across first and foremost in my music, is trying to bring all those things that I grew up listening to and being surrounded by into what I do. And that part didn't really hold true too much. But like I said, it's been a great ride with it, as far as people being able to find out the band through YouTube. Yeah. I thought, when I first started absorbing all your records, I was like, oh yeah, this guy has a clean vocal, all the guitar melodies and the intros to the songs. I mean, I thought that's great. I can see why they're calling it kind of traditional, just with a lot of the melody and the heaviness. Yeah, of it. I suppose. I mean, I've always kind of. I'd never heard, when I started, I didn't know what that was. And I've said this many times, when somebody was like, what do you think of the new wave of traditional heavy metal? It was actually the first time I had ever heard it in an interview. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then I had to go research it for myself. And then at the time, the channel was very small, so there was only so many bands. Yeah. So it was kind of a little bit easier to absorb. And the bands that were like really like up there on there, Night Demon, Cauldron, White Wizard, I can name a couple more, but like I was like, okay, I was like, this is rad. But obviously with all sort of these like subgenre kind of things, there's it just kind of goes back to where I was in with doom metal. You start to kind of feel like you're like, I don't really want to be anything. I want to be what I want to be. And sure. I am still a firm believer in that. I do not go out the gate saying anything about what I do as being that. Right. People recognize it, but for me, I only recognize myself as a rocker. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a rocker. I'm a roller. I'm all of that. It's just like, I like things besides just heavy metal. Right. So it's very, it's hard just to be like, okay, I'm going to live in here, Yeah. We don't do a lot of double bass stuff. Like I kind of mess with it in the earlier records, but definitely not on Burst Into Flame, but on the following ones, because I was out playing shows and I was like hearing bands do double bass, and I was like, wow, the energy of the double bass really is standing out, but it really is quickly has fizzled. You know, like you're not going to hear it very often anymore at all, because it didn't really fit some of the old school that I liked. You know what I mean? Where it's just more rock.
Right.
You know? So at the end of the day, I'd love just to be rock and roll.
Yeah.
But we're not, though. Also, there's another thing where it's like, we're not really that either. You know, like one of my friends, Jarvis of Night Demon, told me one time, he's like, bro, there's this, and you're over on this hill just kind of like doing you. And he's like, and that's what makes you stand out more than others.
Being
like,
a part of
you're
the pack.
just part of, like, you're over here on your hill. You're on the beat of your own drum.
Right.
So that's how I would always, you know, like to describe my music to people, is like, you like this, you like that, you like this, you like that. You're going to find something in there that you might connect to.
That's a great analogy, and I totally agree with that. Was the name, when you first started in 2017, were you right out the bat, were you Haunt?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What's the significance of Haunt?
Well, the thing that I wanted to really bring to fruition was, like, with Beastmaker, it was more, I was telling stories about, like, I had a real, like, my dad got me really into movies and really into Vincent Price, really into the old horror, and it kind of just really, it made me go down a rabbit hole of just finding all these, like, B films from like the 1960s, 70s, even some 80s, and I was just kind of writing music to that, like kind of paying an homage to these great films, namely like Tombs of the Blind Dead, Black Sunday, just to name a few. Wow. Just those kind of things. I was like, all right, this is the vibe, you know. But then I wanted to write music that was going to be a lot more personal. And the name Haunt has nothing to do with horror, which I was kind of worried about, because I was like, man, Ghost just came out. They have this thing. Mm-hmm. But the name Haunt is basically, it came from I had some tragedy happen. Three of my cousins, I'm an only child, and I had three cousins that I grew up playing music with, who, it's just crazy that like how it all happened, but they all tragically died very young. And
three different incidents?
Wow. And it's just kind of always haunted me. You know what I mean? Like, I played music with these guys my whole life. My cousin Michael taught me guitar. He died when I was 19. My cousin Danny, who was always like drumming, he played in a couple bands with me, but we didn't live in the same town for a long time. I actually moved to Fresno to play music with him. And like, not even kidding you, 1 month later, he died. So it's kind of crazy how all that worked. And then a few years later, my cousin Brandon, he was my competition. He was like really, really good. And like, I always kind of had to like step it up to even be on his caliber, because whatever he touched was like, it was like, holy shit, man. Like, I couldn't, his finger picking, his bass skills, he was a slap. Any kind of bass, like, the dude ripped. He just could not use a guitar pick. So it was really wild, because he would get mad at me because I could do all the guitar pick stuff, and he's over there sitting there slapping guitars and like doing all this finger picking shit. And then he died out, and it's just like, you know, like I said, it's haunted my presence. Like, everywhere I go, I'm reminded, even to this day, many, many years later. So that's where the name kind of comes from. It was more into like I said, really trying to make a band that really focused on real life scenarios, real life stuff that everybody deals with. Mm-hmm. And it was like, it sounds stupid, but it's like kind of like music therapy for me to write about them and write about the things that have happened, because they were big hurdles emotionally. You know, they're very traumatic, you know, so that was very important. Wow. It really gave me a voice where maybe something else would have really come in and ruined me. You know, instead of being ruined, it brought a new light to everything. And I've had a lot of people come up to me crying. It's kind of gnarly, but you know, saying like songs like "Light the Beacon," like they lost somebody, you know, and this it like resonate, and you know, just many songs like that. And I'm like, good. That's what that was the purpose.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Something like that. Tragedies like that I could see how they could destroy a lot of people.
Yeah.
They don't rebound from that.
No.
They never rebound.
No.
That's
don't.
good, man. That's
Yeah.
good. And now you're able to kind of share that inspiration with so many thousands of people through your music.
For sure.
So, as I mentioned a little while ago, you know, you're the man. And so, did you decide at some point, like, I want to play out, I want to go out and play these songs, so I need a band?
Yeah.
And that's why you got the band together.
Yeah. So it actually kind of was strangely it was spawned in Texas
Nice.
because of Hell's Heroes Festival in
Oh,
Houston.
yeah, in Houston.
Christian and Tim from Shadow Kingdom Records were like, you need a band, and here's a festival for you to come play, and we're going to take care of you and give you enough money to get to Texas, and it'll be worth your time.
Wow.
And I was like, the first thing I said was no, because I was like, you know, like I said, like Beastmaker was really like doing pretty good. Like as far as like that goes, like we had all kinds of stuff planned, and it was like, you know, they're like, you know, I wouldn't say pressured, but they really wanted me to kind of form something and just go do it.
Right.
And so I was like, I harvested my bass player to play guitar, because he was actually a guitar player from Beastmaker, John Tucker. And then I had asked the drummer, and he turned me down on it. And so I had to like kind of search around, and we actually used our merch guy who drums. So the guy that was selling merch for Beastmaker ended up the drummer. And it actually took a really long time. I feel like Sam is really truly like the first real bass player. It's always been guitar players playing bass. And I just got to a point where it's like, because, you know, at some point in time, those guitar players that are bass players are going to want to go to guitar.
Right.
And so that's kind of how that kind of just fell through. And then I just got to a point where I was like, I need a bass player, like a real one. They don't play guitar.
Right.
They don't have other, you know, goals of like, I want to be this guitar player, right? So it's been a little journey, but that's how it all started right there. Hell's Heroes. And we played Hell's Heroes almost every year except for last year, and we would have played it if it wasn't, we were in Europe touring. So we'll be on this next lineup here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the
For
next
25?
announcement.
25?
Yeah.
It's turning, you know, Hell's Heroes is turning into a big thing now. And I'm happy for the people who do it.
For sure, dude. It's been a massive evolution, believe me, because I was there year one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Playing it, and there was not that many people there. You know, it was still a good crowd. I'm not saying it was bad, but what it's become, it's like, wow.
And all these killer bands that they're getting.
Of course.
Wow. Yeah.
It's a good venue. So, I mean, it allows for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Cool,
the
man.
Space, you know.
Well, hopefully the Rob Screw is going to try to make it out. We do a couple of festivals each year.
Cool.
But I gotta hook up with that dude out there and, you know, build that rapport with him, and
for sure.
Hopefully let us get out there.
He's the man.
Yeah.
He's my dear friend.
Yeah.
So
cool. I might ask you for a favor.
You got it, dude. Anything.
You know, one of the things that I noticed too, I'm like, God damn, this guy stays so freaking busy. Like releases a record every year.
Yeah.
Like, and he's been doing it consecutively for fucking 8 years.
Yeah.
Or 7 years. He released 2 records, I think, in 2020, I think.
Yeah.
Well, that was during the pandemic, but
that was pandemic
but
driven.
Still, I mean, ever since, you know, the pandemic's demise, I mean, you're still releasing a lot of records.
Yeah.
What keeps you so busy? I mean,
you know, like I said, like there's always going to be like that music just speaks to me, and I have a lot to say. And like I said, it kind of, like I said, it's like a therapy for me almost to like write songs about real life situations and things that I've dealt with, overcome, and hurdles. And I just feel like there's always a new one, especially in the music business. There's a new hurdle every day. Right. You know, so there's just always that. But the creation process for me is really what drives me.
That's your vice.
That is the driving force, is when I write something and it gets completed. that is the highlight of the music for me.
Yeah.
Period. If I didn't play another show and only wrote music, I'd still be happy.
Yeah, yeah.
But I still love to go out and perform.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, that's good, man, because I know that you live a pretty good, clean lifestyle.
Yeah, I don't drink. I haven't drank alcohol in 14 years.
Wow.
I don't drug. I smoke a epic ton of marijuana, but that's just you can't quit it all.
Yeah.
You know, but
yeah.
I hold myself to a very high moral standard, moral code.
That's good, man.
I'm married. I have a 5-year-old son, and they mean the world to me. So it's always good. I think it's good for music to have people that have those kind of standards, where it's not just the ways of old, which doesn't work anymore anyway. Because
sex, drugs, and rock and roll, it doesn't work that much anymore.
It doesn't. You know, I have a dad that was in that world, so I have witnessed so many deaths early. Those guys don't live long.
Yeah.
You know, especially the ones that didn't have, you know, the money, the drummers, the bass players.
Yeah.
They don't make it through. Even one of my dad's best friends of all time, Ronnie Montrose, blew his brains out. You know what I mean? He had a lot of bad stuff was happening, and he decided that it was, you know, he ended it himself.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm looking at Gar Samuelson thinking the same thing.
You know, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And sadly, there is, you know, I've always thought there is the vibe. There's a vibe to that lifestyle that made some really great music, and I would never shit on that parade.
Right.
But for me, I think, you know, in life and in music, you have much better longevity. You look at, there's just guys out there that have always been really straight-laced, and they go on to have really long careers where they could still do it old. You know,
thank God for some of the people like you who kind of realize, you know, I can't continue to live this life. I got to clean up. No. I think about my good friend Tommy Victor from Prong.
Sure.
He's one of those people.
Yeah.
And because he used to be bad. But because we had some wild nights with him. But I mean,
you got to realize what's more important: your guitar and your craft, or the party. You know, like that's really what it comes down to. Is like, what do you want to be? Do you want to be remembered, or do you not want to be remembered?
Right.
You know, because when you burn out, you're burned out, and you could be left in the past, or you could keep going until you're old and can't do it anymore. You know, like you just had one happen. Steven Tyler retired. I mean, what an epic career. And I would say that guy definitely drank and drugged. But I mean, still, I mean, I guarantee you there were some years there where he was like, man, I got to be clean. This, you know, they definitely had their moments where they probably had to not party and not do this, especially as they get old.
I would imagine you have your own studio.
I do.
Yeah. And you do all your recordings in there?
Yeah, I'm fortunate enough to I realized something in the music industry that if you want to be able to make a living in this era, the best move is to learn how to do it all yourself. And I took and I used my punk rock influences to drive that. You know, you have all this Danzig stuff, you know, Plan 9. They're all self-funded. He's self-funded so many albums of his own. Another one is Ian MacKaye of Minor Threat, Fugazi, you know, with the Discord Records. I always looked at those guys and I go, you know, sometimes it kind of makes sense just to do it yourself because, you know, with the internet, it makes it even more simple, you know, because, you know, things like Bandcamp started coming out and like that's how Beastmaker got signed. I mean, I put an EP on Bandcamp, and 2 weeks later, I had a record deal.
Nice.
You know, but then I realized quickly, you know, a few years later, I'm like, man, like, I had a buddy that was like, hey, Trev, I know a guy that could help you out. He'll show you the ropes of how to get vinyl records made. And my friend, that dude was Daniel Hall of Writing Easy Records. He kind of pushed me, he gave me that push I needed. And so I did my first like vinyl release through Beastmaker, and then it was like, okay, this is awesome. I like doing this. Well, what you have is Shadow Kingdom.
Okay.
But
that was before Church Recordings.
It was, but Tim, he came along when I had already started doing that, and he he kind of was like the guy. I was like, well, I want to do my own thing, and he's like, well, let me just help you.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll give you what you need, and I'm not going to be. His whole saying with me was like, I don't want to be an anchor. I want to be your sail.
Right.
So that worked for a while, but obviously when you have a vision of things of how you want to do it, those things are going to come to an end. And it was never a bad thing. Shadow Kingdom was excellent. Tim is a great guy. He did a lot for the band.
So you and Tim were Shadow Kingdom?
I wasn't ever Shadow Kingdom.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's Shadow Kingdom. And I only had affiliation. I helped him kind of with social media stuff and kind of helping him get bands and you know, kind of helping him, you know, roster up a little bit. You know? I don't want to say I have really anything too serious to do with it, but I always would throw bands at him.
Insight,
and be like, these guys are cool. You should try to get them, you know, and things like that. And he, you know, he's doing good and good. You know, like I would still, if I didn't want to do the things that I want to do, I'd still be right there because he's kind of has that. He has a very good DIY ethic as well, kind of like me. We lined up at the right time. You know what I mean? Like I said, though, there just came a point where it was like, I want to oversee. I want to do this. You know, like it wasn't that I didn't want to be part of anybody's record labels or anything. It was more or less just like, I want to do what I want to do. And strangely, now I have a collaboration with Jarvis Leatherby of Night Demon where we do co-releases. It's Church Recordings, Iron Grip Records. So I needed some help because obviously one man cannot do it all.
Sure, of course.
So somebody has to come in. And there's just no better person than somebody doing something very similar to me, out there touring all the time. Very hard work ethic, very good person. So that happened in 2021. So we're running strong. I could tell you this right now. Dreamers, our new record, just came out not that long ago, and we're almost out of everything. And we would have if we were on like Metal Blade or Nuclear Blast, a band like Haunt, the size of the pressing that they would do for us, we did that and sold out before even the year's end. So
and then your cut of the revenues would probably be far less.
way more. We make so much more. It's not even funny. It's not. That's kind of what's, you know, I wanted to be able to make. For me to really see the vision through, I had to be doing this full time. I couldn't have a job or any of that. It had to be.
And you can't do this full time if you're not a self-contained unit.
No.
Right.
No. So
and those revenues are so important.
That it's so important because you start to see how it is done, and you're like, man, you know, like industry standard royalties are like $1.20. You know, they haven't come up in like 20 years, 30 years. So they're still living in this like very prehistoric era where it's like the amount of records that are pressed couldn't even pay your mortgage for a year.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you have to factor in a lot, and then you have to factor in like how much touring can you really possibly do.
Right.
So I had to factor in my son is far more important than Haunt.
For sure.
So, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'm so happy that Church Recordings birthed in 2020 and that it's still going strong.
Yeah.
Before we start talking about Dreamers, I have to also mention something that JB and I have had conversations about. Is, you know, we were getting acclimated to all your music and records. And I was like, you know, this Haunt cover art is fucking cool, right?
Yeah.
It's like vintage, has a vintage kind of vibe to it. And either you see the lady or the skull, you know it's a Haunt cover.
Yeah.
How purposeful was that?
It's so incredibly purposeful because I grew up skateboarding. I started skateboarding in 1987, which was like really probably one of the coolest eras of skateboarding because it was so illegal. Like everywhere you skated, a cop came and it was like you were a criminal.
Oh, really?
And
they would have the signs that said no skateboarding.
Oh, everywhere. There was no skate parks. You were just like in the streets for real. And like I really was very, very into Thrasher magazine. I mean, I lived for Thrasher, and I was a weird kid. Like when I was in elementary school, I mean, like, I just kind of had to, like, I liked baseball, so I always found people. I was like, okay, well, this guy likes sports, cool, they could be my friend. But when it got to, like, music I was into and the skateboarding culture, it was like I found out real quickly that all of my friends were, like, in junior high and high school.
Yeah.
So I started running with older kids. Like,
right.
I wasn't really playing with kids my age. And skateboard art was big for me. Like the skulls, the way the Pal Peralta designs were, Zorlak, Santa Cruz skateboards, all of those. It kind of had this thing. They really branded it to where it was like you knew what you were looking at. And I always wanted to have like a skateboard vibe. I've made skateboards for Haunt. I'm actually trademarked for skateboards because I still kind of secretly like want to be a skateboard company, but like how the hell am I ever going to have the time to do that?
Right.
But I've made some skateboards, and so I wanted everything to look like a certain, I really liked graphic design. It didn't really like art, like the way that album covers are generally made with, painters and stuff. I kind of explored it at first. And I would get these rough sketches back, and I'd be like, "Nope, that is not anywhere near what I'm seeing. It's just too complicated. It needs to be more branded, like the skate companies were doing, like Pusshead, who did all the Metallica stuff. I think that all kind of started with Zorlak skateboards, because that's where that pirate skull kind of came from. That was Zorlak, like." So I kind of liked the simplicities of that, to where it just really, the image, what it is. And I was like, I want to try to harness that. And I've had several artists I've worked with over the years. RMW Studio in Barcelona, Spain, came up with the logo and did the first EP. And then I have a friend in Canada, Max Tremblay, who like really took it to the next level for me, and he just kind of knew what I was going for, and I never had to really say much.
And you've stayed with him?
No. So he actually, I kind of fucked shit up for him, because once people started seeing what I was, I don't want to take any credit for the style of art, because I certainly did not invent graphic design at all. That is not even my forte. It was just that I wanted something that like kind of went with the skateboard culture, skulls. That's why everything is a skull. Like, people are like, oh, don't you have anything else but a skull? I'm like, nope. Haven't you ever seen a skateboard in the 1980s? Because like, it was skulls.
Yeah.
Skulls were everything to me, still to this day. Same with my son. My son is obsessed with it. We got skulls everywhere. Like, it's just how it is. But right now, so I found this strangely during the pandemic. I found in our fan club a guy out in Chicago, John Gianelli, who was like, "Hey, I do graphic design, but I work corporate." And he's like, I went to school for graphic design, and he's like, let me make you something, man. And he made me something. He made me some poster art, and we printed some posters. And I was like, you want to you want to do a t-shirt? And he's like, sure. We did a t-shirt. And then Max was like, what happened with Max is that people started hitting him up for art. A lot of bands, like everybody saw like, oh, this is working for Haunt, this will work for us. And I feel like he got burned out. He got burned out on doing art for other bands. He still does it, but it's very for what he wants to do only. I got him to do one last cover I begged him. I was like, I got this record. He did the Windows of Your Hearts album cover, and that was the last thing. And I love Max. I mean, he is a dear friend. So it was not something that was like, I would have kept going with him as long, but he just told me, he's like, I want to focus on my band. I want to focus on the things that I'm doing. And he's like, I got too busy, man. He's like, it's not fun anymore, and I want to do this. Right. And so he told me, he's like, I want you to honor my wish on this. And I was like, sure. So I was like, thank you, for all the years of cool shit. Let's just say I was very fortunate, because like, he basically did everything for me for nothing practically. So I got so much cool art, and I owe him heavily. But John Gianelli, who's been doing everything for me now, like I just basically call him a fifth member of Haunt, because like at this point he's
the
like
corporate guy.
Yeah, dude. He really, he's the coolest dude, and he does, it just comes down to like he doesn't need to do graphic design for bands for a living. He's doing this he's doing this for fun. And that makes it better. Yeah. Because it's coming from a place of where he's just like, this is what I'm doing besides doing this 9 to 5 that literally I don't get to be creative.
And obviously he's a fan of the music.
Major fan.
Well, I mean, come on.
Yeah. So it's kind of come full circle to this, and the art is big for sure. You're
so right, man. I mean, I can't do what I do without these guys.
Yeah,
so,
you need a team of guys. Like I said, there's other people that I'm not just like a lot of times it seems like I'm a one man show, but like I said, there's usually somebody behind. The strength of it all, and I got some good folk.
Let's talk about your new record now, man.
Sure.
And all you people out there who have not yet seen the brand new record from Haunt, it is called Dreamers. Go ahead and take a look at the cover art. It came out on March 1st of this year, so it's out there on some music media outlets, because I remember when I first wanted to get it, I went to iTunes.
It's not there.
It's not there. And then I'm like, okay, shit, let me go to Bandcamp. And it was on Bandcamp.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's reasons for that.
Absolutely. You want to talk about them? Because it's wild.
Give me the summation of it. I mean, just like you were saying, like record labels, are going to not pay you out. I guess it's the same thing with them.
It just comes down to how I grew up, and I don't like corporations, and I hate Spotify. Daniel Ek, what they're doing is basically it's wage theft is the best way to describe it to somebody that doesn't understand. And they've really monopolized the commercial digital world. And I kind of, just to make it easy, I did something on Bandcamp, which most people do not do. All of my records are $5.
Yep. And
you both and I come from a time we spent a lot of money on toys, records, and we know that if an album would have been $5 in 1988 or whatever, we would have had our collections would have been. We'd had to get about 4 warehouses, because back in the day I had to like mow some lawns, do some dishes, get my $10, $20 to go get. I mean, a tape in 1988 was $10.99. It's always kind of stayed. It's wait a minute here. But I wanted people, because I think people are really used to getting things for nothing for so long. I was like, you know what? This supports the band more. And I don't agree with what these corporations are doing, and I don't want to be a part of it. Actually, it's gotten so extreme this last year that I think we've been talking about on this run. I'm almost 100% certain right now that I'm actually going to pull everything off of Spotify. I don't know if I want to be a part of it anymore. Because I'm like, I don't need that. I'm going to audit. It's really hard, because like a lot of artists don't see, because they don't own their commercial digital, the thousands of pages of crap that you have to look at. Because, I mean, we're talking pennies. Every penny, is on these spreadsheets. And I want to audit what I actually make from Spotify per year, which is probably very nominal. And to say that they market you, it's actually wrong. They have all these algorithms and all these things that they do now, and it's just not for me, man. So if you want my record, you could actually buy it for $5 digitally, own it forever. It's yours. It's not going away, because I think a lot of people are going to eventually fall into place with it and be like, forget this shit. Spotify is garbage. iTunes, I don't have such a beef with Apple. Apple, they are software developers for music, and they've been music people since Steve Jobs doing US Festival in 1983. He is invested in music from day one, and without them, I don't know if digital music would even be, like artists like myself that, you're gonna fund it yourself. I can't afford to be in a studio for 6 months.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot of dough. And you got to think about what you're going to be able to make now, because the percentage of people streaming versus the percentage of people buying physical, there's a big difference. Even though we do pretty okay, you know, like. But also the other thing is they're using these numbers, like promoters are using numbers from Spotify, and that's kind of what's kept me there. But like, my fans buy my shit. Like, I've let it be known, like, hey, we don't these corporations, they do not support this band. Like, if you guys truly want to support the bands that you like, you need to buy it. Like, flat out. We will make it affordable for you, because it's so bad. The fact that I will sell an album for $5 should have made a statement that the state of music business is not good, and that a $5 album is going to pay you more than selling, you know, however many fucking streams with Spotify. Right. Plain and simple.
Good point. And
nothing against Apple. I have to figure out a way. It's just mainly I don't want to do it because commercial digital distribution, the way it works is you upload your music and it just goes out. So you have to go in there and individually click all these things and do these things to get it how you want to see it released. Right. Which I just haven't done. Yeah. I'm just too busy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, ugh.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's too much. And I got like 200 published works. So, you know what I mean? It's like insane.
Yeah, you got to take some time to do that. First of all, let me say I love this record.
Thank you.
I've listened to most of your records, but I really love this one.
Yeah.
And JB and I were talking about it the other night. And I know that you as a writer, you have a formula for how you write your music. Yeah. Did you at all try to do change your approach with anything with this record at all?
I mean, the real approach, the big change is just like I've been working with a mixing and mastering engineer that I really like. And that was something before. It was like, let's just do records and do it DIY, and that's that. And like with the last two releases, Golden Arm and Dreamers, I've been working with Darren Trenicost out in Las Vegas. He's another dude that's like very DIY kind of dude, making his way, and he does like a lot of pop stuff. And you're like, when I came along, he was like, oh dude, I love what you're doing and I want to be a part of it. So again, like, so that was kind of like a new realm for me of like just being able to record a record and just here make it sound how you see, not me. And so it was like kind of like taking the music I was doing and letting somebody else polish it, you know, and make it sound how they think it should sound. So that, like, I'll never really evolve much as far as like, I don't want to do any sort of concept album or progressive. It's just not for me. I mean, I still think some of the best records that I've ever listened to, all the Misfits stuff is like some of my favorite stuff.
And it's kind of raw.
I mean, it's raw as hell, and it's like 2-minute long songs, and there is no parts. You know what I mean? So I still think that sometimes in music, just straight to the point is a great way of going about it. The one thing that I do try to do with each record, though, I really try to outdo myself on some guitar riffs and really push myself with the guitars.
The intro to Serenade's amazing.
That was a whole different direction because I had never done acoustic work in there, and it's been a real motherfucker live. Because like
you play it live?
Oh yeah, but we cannot put an acoustic guitar there, and I always feel like, so we put it in our computer that we have a little computer in the back. My drummer plays to a click track in his ears, so he has a thing back there where he hits it, and he's listening to the album with no drums and just playing along to it. So we're in time. But we figured out, we're like, well, we could throw some of this other shit in there and send it to the front of house. So we're trying to figure out, you know, so some of those ideas aren't great ideas live. I'll tell you that right now.
Right.
So, but yeah, that was a new thing to throw in for sure. I had never done an intro kind of like that with finger picking acoustic instrument, and then going into the main riff, which would just basically be like any formulaic haunt song that has existed.
Right.
You know, straight to the point. You get your verse, pre-chorus, chorus, solo. There's not, you know, with me, it's always been like when we get through the second chorus, it's always been about taking the guitar to the next area as well. So that's always been a thing. But you'll hear on this next record is I have a new approach.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Bridges are really looked at with a microscope on this time.
Oh, wow.
Where there's a lot more singing and things going on that I hadn't really experimented with. Intros are much different. Outros, because I've figured out that, like, I really know how to get the verse and choruses and pre-choruses really put together. But it's always been really, like, one of those things where it's like, all right, there's just going to be a guitar solo here. It's, like, said. It's written in stone in my brain. After this comes the shred time.
Right.
And I've looked at it way differently. So it's been a big thing of recent. And Dreamers you have to remember, like, each album leads to these new things that you want to do. And Dreamers kind of like was like, okay, you really need to take a look, because like with the intro, like Serenade really gives the song a really great starting point in my mind anyway. I wanted to be able to do that without having to be like, how the fuck are we going to have acoustic guitar? We're not going to bring an acoustic guitar. You know, we're bringing enough shit as it is with us. It's like, now we got to bring an acoustic guitar for 30 seconds of music and set it up every day? Hell no.
Put it in the computer.
Bad idea, but great for an album.
Right. What about the intro for Steel Mountains?
Yes.
Is that more like...
So, long time ago, I've been a big fan of like Gary Newman and certain synth musicians over the years. I've always like really liked synth, but like with Mind Freeze, I started incorporating synth into the music, and it was very well received. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna just keep this going, and I started doing that. And then I came with the same problems I am with Serenade. It's like, how do we fit this in there? How does it go? How do we? You know, and then we started using this Roland SPDX where we're loading all these synth tracks in it, and it has been nothing but a nightmare. I hate the fucking thing. Tried to find a synth player. You know how hard it is to find a heavy metal keyboard player willing to go on tour.
You don't want another member in the band either.
That is another thing.
No.
There's just a lot of heat on it, and so
tell Andy he needs how to learn to play synth.
So what I decided was on Dreamers, I was going to do a lot less synth, but what I was going to do was, we did find that when we upload the synth and there's nothing playing, it's great. So I was like, all right, well, let's just kind of do that. I'll write these parts that I really like and let them shine a little bit more, because when it's buried in the music, it doesn't really work that well. And I thought that was going to be a clever way to introduce the song, introduce everything, is to have a nice keyboard lick.
Yep.
I'll always like keyboards. There's no way to keep me away from them. But this next record, it's the same. I'm working on a new album now, and I found I'm like, no synth, only where it needs to truly be an intro or a bridge where it's going to make more sense. Especially since, like, you know, I had issues with playing Mind Freeze. I'm like, I'm missing those parts. We can't hear them. Does the crowd hear it? Not really, because when you start putting heavy metal guitars over something that's being hit on the back and it's just being played through the front house, it doesn't really sound that great. And it's muddy. And we want those articulate guitars to shine through more than anything.
Talk a little bit about the title Dreamers and holistically, lyrically, what this record is touching upon.
Yeah, I mean, if it's very simplistic. Everything I do, I try to make it for everybody to understand. There's, you know, we all have dreams of things that we want to do, and as musicians that like not as much mainstream music, we have a dream. Probably dream bigger than those that do pop music, because we have to like struggle more. We have to live this life. But you know, there's the dream of just writing, playing, and doing these things. It's always just kind of been there for me, and like I just wanted to, you know, use that. You know, like I said, it's real life stuff. Musicians are dreamers, And we don't talk about that very often in heavy metal. Heavy metal is very, again, I don't know how heavy metal I truly am. I'm a lover of heavy metal, but I'm a lover of punk too, and other stuff. And there's always a certain theme to musics, and I feel like heavy metal has always been one of those ones that we don't speak about a lot of the emotional side. We don't wear, it's always hard, heavy, and I wanted to bring a little bit of a more softer side to it, or more emotional side to the music, and and be like, it's okay to have dreams.
Right.
You don't have to be so hard all the time. Like, follow the, and it's another thing. It's just a statement of follow your dreams, because if you don't, you will regret it one day.
Sure.
You will regret not doing the things that you wanted to do when you could do them. So it's also like stating that, like, get out there and fucking do it before it's too late.
Before it's too late. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as fast as time seems to be going by right now,
yeah,
it's kind of crazy. And then it also in such a unpredictable world that we live in too.
Yeah.
It's really a scary time to be living.
I don't look at things like that. I've learned over the years that having opinions of politics and things, it doesn't really, I have them, but those kinds of people are not my people. I don't do identity politics. I hate all of them, because guess what? They are not my people. My people are people that are listening to music. Politicians don't listen to music, I guarantee you that. We got arrested in Iowa one time for having some joints with us, and my drummer,
Iowa?
Yeah, in Des Moines, and our drummer asked the cop, he's like, do you listen to music? And he just was like, nope. And I was like, that just says it all right there. I'm not saying that all of them don't,
Sure.
but there's going to be a vast majority that's just not their thing.
Sure.
And so to say the world is scary, it's like you can't live your life being in fear of what is going to happen. You just have to, day by day, live your life how you see fit and how you want to spend your day. Are you going to be sad that we sat here and had our chat today? It was probably better than being like, I'm in fear right now. I don't want to go out because the world is scary.
Sure.
Right? You know what I mean? But to not look at it as scary is also detrimental, because, there are things in play. There's power, there's greed, there's massive corporate greed. And I'm more afraid of those types of things than I am a certain politician. Money controls all.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to also, I think, about what you said earlier about, and it kind of rang with me about, being a person of good moral standards,
sure,
and integrity. And if you're bringing that into the world, and I'm glad to hear you say that, because I don't think I hear that enough from people.
We see a bunch of bullshit on social media, and I'm actually, this last year, I've been trying to, it's hard because, as a musician these days, they say you need to be you need to have all these, there's videos of major labels turning down great bands because they don't have enough TikTok followers.
Right.
It's not about the music anymore.
Right.
And it needs to be about the music, and it needs to be about certain things. And one thing that I've found is that over the last decade of me building up all my social medias is that I've grown to hate it even more. And I have found that I've been slowly removing myself from it. My bass player does more of the social media. I check the messages to be in touch with the fans personally.
Sure.
But my personal pages are gonna, I only have one. I have a Facebook, and I honestly barely even check it anymore, because when I go on there, I see a lot of fake stuff and people that will say something behind a keyboard that would never say that to somebody face to face. So I'm not aligning myself with that kind of thing. I want to be away from it. I don't think it's mentally healthy anymore.
Right. I agree.
So
totally agree.
We need to get back to reality at some point and be like, you know what? If you don't see it with your own eyes, it might not be true, or it just doesn't matter because it's not affecting your day-to-day being.
And how much more has AI contributed to that? It's fucking scary.
Well, I mean, they've already announced that Bon Jovi will be recording music well after he's gone. So that's kind of a weird
man.
thing. And
Yeah.
you know, it's like maybe for some people that's awesome, but like I don't really fall into I think that you just like, we've always used the tools that are readily available, and I think there's always a place for everything.
Yeah.
And it will be exploited as well. So
Sure.
there's always going to be the parts where it's like, wow, this is really great, and then somebody will exploit it, and then we'll have to relook at it, because social media in the beginning was like, oh wow, I could talk to my friends that I haven't talked to this person in 20 years,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But no longer does that matter.
Right. Right. I have to mention the cover song,
Yeah,
"Send Me an Angel."
for sure.
Man, when I heard that, I was like, I know this song.
Yeah, you
and
do.
I was listening to it, and I was like, wow, that's cool. Great cover. And then I was like going over through like some of my press materials that I received, and I was like, they don't mention that there's a cover song in Dreamers, or did I overlook it? Or is it on the DL?
I think it, well, no. I think people, it almost sounds like I wrote it.
That's what I
It's
was
kind
telling
of-
Rick. I'm like,
Is kind of how it was, and I'll never do a cover song again, because when I had to go through, when I went through and had to pay for it all, I was like, this is not worth it.
okay.
You know what I mean? I was like, I could have just written song of equal measure, but
yeah.
the reason I put a cover song on there is the movie Rad. Do you remember Rad?
Yeah.
It's a BMX movie from like 1988, I think. It's so good.
And that song's in the movie?
Yeah.
Ah.
There's like a scene.
Okay.
And it just it's resonated with me since I was a kid. And I was asked many times, I'm like, they were like, what if you cover, because I mean, like, I don't know why people always will ask an original songwriter like myself, like, cover this, cover that, cover this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? It's already been done in
Right.
heavy metal. Like, I don't want to record any song that's like, you know, already has a it's distorted already. There's a solo on it. I want to go to a song that literally has none of that at all.
Right.
And
For sure.
that one really kind of was like, I always wanted to do it, and I did it, and now I don't care. You know, it's weird.
Well,
I
you did
mean,
it. You did a great cover of it.
I
I enjoy it.
I don't know. My wife says differently. I'm gonna say that.
It's because she has a paradigm of the old songs. That's what it
she says
is.
she doesn't like how I sing it. So and she's a great singer, so I kind of take everything as like, when she's like, I didn't sing it good, I probably didn't. I didn't. So for me, I'm like, fuck.
Oh man.
But I like arranging all the electric guitar on it.
Yeah.
I did really enjoy that. And kind of making it a little bit different, you know, that was fun. Adding the dual guitar stuff,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
little riffs in there that
And
never
then
were there.
I was jamming it last night. Julie was cooking dinner, so I'm fucking, you know, on my computer in the kitchen, and I'm like jamming, and like, man, I was telling her about the song. She said, I wonder if that video is on YouTube, and I didn't even
checked
know
it
the name
out?
of the band.
Yeah, real life.
Real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
and so
actually great.
I saw their video. I don't even think they have a guitar player,
Nah.
right?
No. No guitar.
No
Guitar.
Yeah.
Guitar, it's such a weird band. They were really ahead of their time with the synth stuff. That's, again, like when we go back and we talk about synth music.
Yeah.
Like those that era of like synth. There's some great people out there doing some really
Gary
good stuff.
Newman, you
Yeah, well,
mentioned
he
earlier.
is way beyond. That guy was.
He was just here in San Antonio not long ago.
Yeah, I mean, he has.
I can't believe he
he's
still
had
tours.
a great career in that world, but you know, it just had to happen. I'll never do it again.
Okay.
That's the first and probably the last
All
cover
right.
ever.
All right.
Maybe I'll cover a Sammy Hagar song.
Yeah,
one
never
day.
say never. You never know. Yeah.
You know, people ask me of that, and I'm like, my dad already did that. Why do I want to? I don't want to fuck all that up.
Right. You know, and I want to tell you on camera again, because I told you off camera, but I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you.
To do this interview in my studio. You guys are in San Antonio tonight, playing at Bonds 007. Only the second night of this 27 city tour. You did Austin last night. The Eternal Rain tour. So what can fans expect going out to see haunt on this run?
A lot of sweat. Because the one thing we always do is we leave it all up there.
Good,
so
man.
I don't really believe, like, you know, we just play. I like, you have all this Metallica stuff in here, Megadeth stuff, and I've always felt like they're a band with these are bands with no gimmicks. It's you get the people.
Even now, you see Metallica playing their stadiums like they have no props or nothing.
No, yeah. I mean, they have a great light show.
Yeah.
And stuff, but like, I've always appreciated that. Like, I kind of want to keep it like I've always really looked up to those guys on when they're in their early years where it was just very raw. I know they had a great setup for, you know, they've always had the good stairs going up to the drums and stuff and a great backdrop, but they just were who they were. And I've always loved that. And we have some stuff, you know, we got some ego risers to jump on with lights and fog and shit, but nothing fancy. So, you know, we go up there and we play a lot of fan favorites. That's always been a big thing. Like, even if I'm so tired of it because I'm like, I want to play new shit or whatever, I always have to remember I'm not out here really just to satisfy my needs.
Right.
I'm out here to connect with the people that have connected with my music and they want to hear these songs in person. So we try to throw in a little bit of this, a little bit of that for everybody. So that's what they could expect. And Savage Master is a great band. I mean, it's like we should have called the tour the Light and the Dark tour now because I realized after night one, I'm like, man,
those dudes are wicked or what?
Upside down crosses, devil coming out on stage and stuff, and I'm like, well, this is way different than what we do, you know.
Do you guys alternate headlining?
We're gonna be doing that. That's like been the plan, to just kind of let everybody breathe a little bit, because playing late every night is kind of will wear you out fast. So it's gonna keep us, because this is a lot of shows for a month.
Yeah.
27 shows in 31 days is no joke. So
I can't
you kind of need that like break, and that's what I was explaining.
Tonight, are you playing first or
last.
second?
We played.
Okay.
We played before them last night.
Right,
so
11:15.
So we go last tonight. So yeah.
All right. After this run, any more shows to end out the year?
We're out in Europe September 15th till October 4th. We're playing Metal Italia Festival, and then we end it with the Keep It True Rising, and playing a bunch of stuff, Germany and
nice
Poland and stuff in between. So that's gonna be the end of the Dreamers era of that, because obviously I will have a new album next year. So
we're gonna end up talking about that.
Yeah.
And then obviously more road work in the new year in 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's already planned. March we'll be out to Hell's Heroes. We'll be touring out to there. We're planning a full tour, U.S. tour in June. I don't know if we're going to go back to Europe next year, because this year is a double European. We went to Europe already this year, and we're going back already.
Yeah.
And that is a big logistical nightmare and exhausting for a man of my age.
Is it because of just the regs, or
just it's traveling, my diet. I don't eat meat, so I basically am starving to death over there. So it's no joke. It's hard. It's really hard on me.
They don't have like any vegan food or vegetarian food?
They do. It's a lot better now, but it's still complicated.
Yeah.
You know, so like,
how long have you been vegetarian?
Oh, very long time.
Really?
Yeah.
Why did you? I mean, was that just?
I just always have been, man. It's just something that I've, for years and years and years. Again, it comes down to corporations. I don't trust what they do. I don't think they're looking out for people. They're looking out for the dollar.
Yeah, of course.
So, and you know, it's if you watched a video of how it's processed and what they do, it's kind of like, I've always said this. I could not kill a cow. I can look at a cow and kill it, butcher it, break it down myself. Therefore, I won't eat it.
Right.
You know,
right.
I have to be able to kill it
to eat it.
Yeah. I don't think I could do it.
I always think about that scene in My Greek Wedding where the husband tells the Greek family, like, oh, he doesn't eat meat. And the aunt says, he don't eat no meat.
Yeah.
And like the whole family just like
They couldn't believe it.
They couldn't believe it. Then she goes, "Oh, it's okay. I'll cook you goat."
Just spray some Windex on it while you're at it.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Well, I'm glad, man. I know you guys are fucking workhorses and always on the road. And I guess, like you said earlier, you have to continue to keep the machine going strong.
The shaking hands is important.
For sure. Sure. And I'm sure there's a lot of people always want to meet you every night.
Yeah.
Want to chat with you and stuff.
I try.
Well, and let me ask you, because JB asked me, will you have vinyl for sale tonight?
Yeah.
Of Dreamers?
If get it now before it's
get it, JB.
too late.
All right.
It's almost because we do the one pressing and then I'm on to the next record.
Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah, the stock of vinyl of the Haunt discography is very
limited,
very grim right now.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna get there early, so we'll snag one up. I want one too. Let's talk about videos real quick before we end out. You guys have done a couple of videos for Dreamers, right?
Yeah.
Serenade and Steel Mountains. I love the videos, and I think I love the videos because I always get to see you play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, is that important to you? Like, is video work still important to you?
I think it's good in the sense that people need to see who's playing the music.
Sure.
That's about it. I really don't want to, like, it's been complicated over the years to do videos because, like, I didn't really have a vision for them. Like, people are always like, what do you want to do with it? And I'm like, I don't know. But then we just decided, like, let's just play. Like, that's what we do. So let's just keep it very simple and to the point and not make it about anything else. If there was like MTV and stuff still, maybe I would want it to be a lot more visually appealing and like great. But now the fact that it just gets thrown onto YouTube and that's basically it, doesn't need to be more than just these are the guys playing it. This is, we like when we do it, we play it, but it's not real, so that's hard. But we do actually, like, I make it a point, like, we have to play the song.
Right.
Like, we already play to a click track anyway. So we're very accustomed to so we're good on that end. So, I mean, we've been doing it just like we're the local club in town that has really done a lot for me, strummers. So we'll just keep doing that until somebody goes, this is all they're ever going to do. And I'm like, yeah, well, you get what you get, buddy.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you got a better idea, bring it to me, because until then, I just want people just to see us for who we are, not anything else.
And you can do videos like that pretty feasible,
Very easy. I don't even want to think about it. Back in the day, it was like, here's a story plot. And it was just like
storyboard.
Oh, for fuck's sake. And then you have to like go to some place where it's like complicated and it's like there's no stage, there's no this. When we did the Mind Freeze video, we were on tour. And if you look in the video, my drummer, his snare head is broken.
Oh, yeah?
And we didn't have an extra. We literally drove from one show to the location. And it was like, all right, well, we got a broken snare head on this one. So
put a green backdrop, then you can be anywhere you want.
I mean, if you want to go down that world, I mean, again, it's like, to me, it's just like,
all right,
you get who you get. It's almost, I kind of like when the first time the world really saw Metallica on MTV with the one video, it's just them playing and then a bunch of old films just put in there. That's cool.
Yeah,
I dig that.
Yeah. All right, man. I hope to see more work from you. I know I will.
Yeah.
Let's end out talking about what you've already alluded to, kind of, writing new music. Can you say at this point how far along you are in the process of releasing a new record?
Oh, yeah. Basically, when we get home, I've got almost everything done. I'm just at this point, after how many records I've released, I've really instituted, like, I'm actually this will be like the 5th time I've re-recorded the album entirely, because I've been like I said, I've been a little bit more analytical about things and producing it a little bit more on, like, because eventually I want to produce young bands, let them come to my studio, record for free, because I know that, like, it's harder, these days, and it costs money and things. And I want to give some people some insight I've had over the years. And one thing I found is like, you got to record a lot. You can't just be like, all right, here it is. Like back in the day, they'd spend a year working on the fucking thing. Now you get, you got 2-3 days. Finish it and you're done. You're like, oh shit. Some of the best records were done like that, but bands are formed differently these days as well. But I think we will be releasing a record. It will come out around June of next year. Yeah, all right. Because that'll align with us going out on the road.
Nice. Nice. When you record the record, do some of the other band members play on the record?
Yeah, like I've been trying to let everybody in. My drummer is like way more involved now. In the past, it was very. I'm a complicated creature because we don't really play everything live. So like sitting in and rehearsing and doing all these things to prepare is very mundane because it's like. You want me to? He told me flat out. He's like, "You want me to learn all this shit, and we're gonna play 2 songs." Like that is a quote from him specifically. But lately, we figured out some ways to get around it and work together a little bit more. But it's just it really. I want everybody to be a part of it as much as they can.
Right.
But like for me to get it done and see it through, I have to be always working on it.
And Sam is a real bass player.
Yes, he's on the record. He is on Dreamers. He is on Dreamers. Yeah. There's no need for me to really do anything other than kind of give him a template of like, here, learn this, and if you got something better to throw in, be my guest as long as it fits. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I've known Sam for a few years now, and I've always admired his playing.
He's a badass.
He's a badass, yeah.
We call him the governor.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. I was really happy to see him in your band.
Yeah, me too.
Really, really happy.
Me too. He brought a whole new inspiration for me, to be honest with you. He's helped me push it to, it makes me want to go further and do more so everybody could have a career in it of some point, something to do and appreciate and love, you know what I mean? And
personally, he's a good guy.
Oh, the best.
He's a good guy. And you need people like that behind the scenes.
For sure.
For sure, man. All right, Trev. Thank you, sir, so much.
No problem.
I can't thank you enough.
No doubt.
Any last words? Anything we missed? Anything you want to share with the people out there around the world who watch this interview?
Check us out on Bandcamp, hauntthenation.bandcamp.com. $5 to buy records on there.
Wow.
I know I said I don't really like social media, but you can find us on Instagram and all that, Haunt the Nation. But most importantly, follow your dreams, be a good person, and don't let the world's bullshit bring you down, and remember that it's better to have friends than enemies.
Yeah. Good parting words, Trev, and I hope that in 2025 we can do this again.
Absolutely, man.
Well, I'll definitely always be here in San Antonio to support you, and now that we're in contact, hopefully we'll have many more times to converse about you and your career and music and things that we love, and toys maybe.
Oh, dude, the
toy
thing, yeah, bro.
All right.
Sure.
Again, thank you.
Yeah.
Remember, everyone out there, the brand new record from Haunt is called Dreamers. It's out there. Be sure to pick it up on Bandcamp. You saw the man, Trevor Church, only right here on Rob's MetalWorks.